And now, here are the hosts of the show, Frank Sparks and Scott Tatey.
It's just a little bit after 9:09 a.m. here on your Thursday morning. It is the second Thursday of the month, and you know what that means, Scott?
Rapping with the reps.
Right, joining us in studio currently.
No, I haven't done one of these yet. Do they actually rap? Am I going to hear Roman Kozak spin some lines?
I don't know. You good rapper?
No, I'm not a good rapper. When I was in middle school, I liked rap music, but
okay.
We could talk some like early '90s rap and stuff like that.
Beastie Boys and
Beastie Boys, like Tribe Called Quest, that sort of thing. Yeah.
All right, we're going to ask you the toughest question of the day first.
Okay.
On the docket today, what's the biggest piece of crap car you ever owned? That's what we've been asking everybody this morning.
Let's see. Probably my '98 Chevy Cavalier.
Oh, that's a good one. I remember those. Yeah.
It was green. I inherited it from my grandfather. God bless him.
I had a green one the same year too.
He. You know what though? Thank you, Dito. That's the Ukrainian word for grandfather, because he gave that car to me in 2006 with 10,000 miles on it, and it was a '98. He bought brand new, and scuffed up a little bit on the one side. He tried to use some homemade paint or something to help with the dents and the scratches, but hey, that thing ran to like 50,000 miles before it collapsed. So, college student, they couldn't. My wife had a matching one. I think hers might have been around 99 or 2000, but it was red. Okay. So we had a green and red Cavalier when we first got married.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's not bad at all. I remember we've had a couple Cavaliers over the years. I had a '98 green one too. I think when we got rid of it, about 120,000 miles on it, shockingly.
Oh, wow.
But it was all highway miles. We ran the wheels off that thing.
The brand endured for a long time. I mean, that was a name, that wasn't a here and there kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. So
I think I ended up letting my mom she's like, let me try to use it, and it just fell apart. So
that was another car those rotted out. We were talking about the Dusters and the Chryslers in the 70s.
And 70s
yeah, they just rotted out like nobody's business. So, but all right, that's the toughest question you got today, I guess. I don't know. Might be the easiest one. I don't know.
I heard some Alan Jackson on the way in.
By request one of our listeners.
To drive. Yeah. So we've been picking. We have a radio show host that's in Philadelphia. His name's Chris DeGaulle, who said we canceled him when we didn't. So he's on our airways barking about us canceling him. And our listeners called us and said, hey, this guy's saying you guys canceled him. We're like, yeah, okay. And then he accused us of canceling him for Yacht Rock. So we've been dedicating our morning to all Yacht Rock to Chris DeGaulle this morning.
I was with my wife and some friends this weekend, and I had on a 1970s Yacht Rock playlist, and I was getting some grief for it. It's just I was in the mood for it.
Right? Sometimes. Well, you should have tuned in earlier this morning. We had Christopher Cross going.
That's my
Ace,
sister-in-law's
How Long, Steely Dan, that's a big debate. Are they not?
So,
Yacht Rock.
Yeah.
All right, we're visiting with Roman Kozak this morning. It is Rapping with the Reps. So if you do have any questions for Roman, you're welcome to call at 724-843-1888 or 724-774-1888. All right, so let's dig into it first. The big thing on the docket right now, obviously, is the fact yesterday clearing one of the hurdles that it needs to clear, but the legalization of marijuana in Pennsylvania. What's your thoughts about that?
Mary Jane, marijuana. We had just to put some comedic relief, we had a fellow Republican representative offer an amendment that he ended up pulling, but it was just funny that was looking to, hey, if we're going to do this and sell it through state stores, you're not going to be able to use the words like reefer and Mary Jane and all of these, it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek sort of thing. But so recreational marijuana is, that's the topic of discussion. And late Sunday night, the Democrats dropped the bill in our laps and wanted us to get prepared to vote for it, offer amendments and vote for it by Tuesday and Wednesday. It's almost 200 pages. I think it's just terrible procedure to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't give us a bill with 200 pages. I can guarantee you that 90% of them did not read the bill. I just know because there was no time.
Right.
Like, we couldn't get through it.
Right.
So that was very frustrating. It ended up passing on a party line vote, 102 Democrats to 101 Republicans, but the bill itself is just awful.
Okay.
there's a discussion to be had on this, but when we are, this bill would create a unfunded liability for us, like a cost of $200 of the Liquor Control Board. That's what they want to give this to, the LCB. Remember, the people who run our state stores. Okay. They want to give the Liquor Control Board the ability to run these separate state stores. So there'd be like separate marijuana state stores. Okay. Kind of like the Good Wine and Spirits. You've got this now, right?
You come up with a name, Good Reefer or something.
Yeah, there was discussion. People were worried that we'd have them all in the same store, right? Whatever it is, but so it would cost $260 million, and they want to take $100 million of that and bond it out, which would end up costing, with interest, it's like 6% interest, another $200 million over 10 years. There's no way to fund this. We don't have money for this. Mm-hmm. They sort of use some magic and witchcraft to say that this is budget gimmicks to make it sound like they would figure out a way to get this revenue in. But it's not. It's just not funded. It doesn't have an ability to be funded. And on top of that, it's like a DEI bill as well. They want to establish a department of economic and social equity within the Liquor Control Board. Okay. It's just goofy. It's this catch-all bill. There's all this stuff about, DEI provisions. It's a terrible bill.
At the moment, 24 states have legalized marijuana. Pennsylvania is almost surrounded. West Virginia hasn't yet, but like Ohio, New York, Maryland. Is that part of the pressure that they're worried about a loss of revenue or something like we saw with gambling? Or why are some people in favor of why do they think this should be legalized? It's interesting. Some of the remarks that were made on the floor yesterday by the Democrat caucus said we should legalize this for our children. What? And it was the goofiest, to me, argument. Like, we should do this to protect our children. For me, that's the biggest concern is legalization, proliferation of marijuana, and what that means for our kids. This is a serious decision. This isn't, so I was very confused by that. But ultimately, other states have passed it a lot of them by referendum, giving it to the citizens to choose. A lot of it, too, has to do with the structure. If you do allow this, how do you handle dealing with it? How do you go ahead and, regulate it and tax it? And like I said, there's a discussion to be had. But when you have it dropped on a Sunday night and by Wednesday you have to vote on it, and it's a bill that I can guarantee you no one read fully through, I mean, it's frustrating.
All right, Scott, slide that way just a little bit.
Kale's here.
John, can you slide that way a little bit?
Yeah.
If you slide, I'll tell you when to stop. Keep going towards Roman. I know you guys like sitting next to each other. There you go. Right. Perfect. All right, everybody's on camera.
I got some company today with me.
Yeah, who you got?
So I got my two youngest. I got Evangelina and Viana. They're here with me today. That's why we're a little bit late. We had to get some tubs and get them ready for the day. But here we are. We made it. And I just want to echo everything that Roman just said. Look, we can't blaze our way to prosperity. We can't gamble our way to prosperity. The idea that the governor thinks that that's how we're going to increase the revenues in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is ludicrous. We have to grow our way to prosperity, which means cutting taxes, getting out of the regional greenhouse gas initiative. Getting more people on the street that are high on marijuana isn't going to help our workforce development issue. It's not going to help grow our economy, and it's not going to help plug our revenue deficits that we do have. We are heading towards a fiscal cliff, and the only reason why we're not falling off of it yet is because of the COVID money that we saved over the course of the last number of years. But it's coming. And this is an attempt, a feeble attempt, to get those revenues up. The only argument in my mind that you can make that I think is one that is, the best argument. I'm not saying it's the compelling argument, but it's the best, is from a freedom standpoint. As far as legalization goes, look, liquor is legal. Right. You could make a pretty strong argument that liquor causes more problems than marijuana does. Marijuana is not doesn't have the same type of effects, but with that being said, there are long-term effects. There's long-term impacts. So I think the most compelling argument for legalization is the libertarian argument. I'm still not in favor of it because I can't stand going to places and just that's all I smell. I don't want them on the shelves like I see in Colorado. I don't want my kids thinking that they're eating gummies when they're actually eating gummies with marijuana product in it. There's a lot of issues, and I think some of these states you see in Oregon and Washington and other places that legalized a long time ago, they're starting to have some serious regrets. So there's a study out there that we can look at now as far as the actual legalization, but this bill in particular is ludicrous. I think it's outrageous that it's the top priority for Democrats, and it's all Democrats in the state house. Every single state house Democrat voted for this ludicrous legalization bill that puts weed in state stores that can't even manage liquor. And now we're going to anticipate them managing weed when we already have dispensaries that are handling medical marijuana. So I just think our focus is way off on the Democrat side. You can't blaze your way to prosperity. We need to grow our way to growth in revenues, and we can do that in Pennsylvania if we have the right agenda.
And reiterate that. Mm-hmm. All the problems that we have right now, this is the priority. Like, I've been there. I'm brand new to this job for 3-4 months now, and we've been voting on really just not a lot of serious stuff. The Democrat Party's in the majority here, and they're driving this legislation. And so the big major bill is this ludicrous bill that was dropped into our lap on Sunday night. I mean, we're 41st in economic growth in the entire country out of 50 states. We're 40th in economic friendliness. This is CNBC, Forbes, and U.S. News calls us the 41st state economy. We are in serious trouble. We're losing population constantly. We're shrinking. We're going to lose another House representative in the U.S. House here in the next census. And the priority is state store marijuana.
Yeah. Well, House Republican leader Jesse Topper yesterday said the bill to legalize marijuana in Pennsylvania was introduced at the end of the day Sunday, as you talked about, and then rushed through the committee. Vote on Monday afternoon. The move that stifled debate and potential amendments. The flawed process led to a seriously flawed piece of legislation that creates an unnecessary government monopoly over the sale of marijuana. Contains significant constitutional concerns and fails to deliver on promised state revenue by cannibalizing the sales of legalized marijuana and into new programs and state giveaways, which in a nutshell is what you guys are saying as well. So, overall, let me ask you this. Do you have headphones, Josh? Because we got a caller. If we're going to get a caller in a minute, we'll grab you a set here in a second. Yeah. Scott, and go that way some more still. You're off the camera.
I like it that way.
We got to make sure Scott's on the camera.
You got to get you on the camera. You got to keep going.
That head of hair needs to be all over.
I'm telling you. All right.
So hair for radio.
Yeah, hair for media.
I do not have that.
So, you have hair for radio.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I do have hair for radio.
So, all right. But let me ask you before we go to call real quick. We'll start with you, Roman, while Josh is putting on a headset. Do you, in any way, would you support the legalization of marijuana if they do it?
I have way too many concerns about it. Okay. Social costs. When we see what Colorado did and some other locations, that as far as the increase in addiction, the increase in the types of mental health crisis. We have a mental health crisis problem in this country,
right,
especially among our youth, and I think that's driven a lot by social media and smartphones to begin with. And then you're going to add this layer of adding dope into the mix. The reality is it's going to become more available. People are already doing it. People medically, I'm 100% in agreement with medical, the ability for people to obtain it medically. Right now, if people really want to get it, adults really want to get it, they can do so. If they need it for medical purposes as well. I had family members that had utilized it during their time with cancer. Mm-hmm. So I get it. My biggest concern is for our kids. I've got 4. Josh has got 8. What does that mean? The THC content. This isn't the stuff from like the 60s and 70s that people think of. This is, that very highly produced THC that has caused some serious problems. We've heard some stories from parents and others coming to the Capitol to talk to us about this. Republicans held a press conference the other day with some of these individuals that, just what happened. Their lives were ruined. And we also have a colleague in the State House that gave a really really, it was just a sad a floor speech yesterday, just talking about his brother and how marijuana ended up leading him down a road that he ended up dying, and that this is a serious conversation. This isn't just a joke, that we have to really think through this and what are the social consequences long term. And again, that bill that the other side came up with, they didn't even, when we asked the state police about where they included, where the FOP, any of the police, like they're going to be dealing with this, and all of them said they were not included in any conversations.
Josh?
Yeah, I mean, echoing what Roman said, the legalization argument, there's a few things that we got to keep in mind as we're discussing this. One, the federal government hasn't dealt with it yet. And this idea that we're going to be legalizing things while the federal government still has it as illegal is a Schedule, I think, 3.
Schedule
1. One of the schedules as far as which drug is illegal. That's a problem. That's a real problem. And with issues as far as being legal in a state and illegal, and then the banking issues that come with it, as far as being able to bank, not being able to bank, and the types of crowds that you're drawing as far as investment goes because of those types of issues is a real problem that needs to be dealt with at a federal level before we do anything. So number one, I cannot stand the argument that we need it for revenues. To me, that is ludicrous. I think this, as far as revenue goes, is pretty conclusive that it's regressive. For every $1 in revenue they get in Colorado, they've seen a $4 increase in social services since they've legalized marijuana. There's going to be workforce problems, more of them, beyond what we already have. Can we figure out the testing issues there? I think that is a ruse to say that this is about revenue. It can't be about revenue. If it is going to become legal and there's a pro-freedom type of argument that said, like, live and let live, that argument I understand. I don't agree with, but I understand it. And if it is what wins the day, I will just say this. Republicans better get something in return, something big. This idea that we're just going to, sing kumbaya with the governor or with House Democrats and then still be in the regional greenhouse gas initiative, still have high taxes, still dealing with economic woes in Pennsylvania, to me is outrageous. So is there a world in which I could see that the potential legalization in Pennsylvania? Yes, there is. But if it occurs, there needs to be a substantial trade-off. But personally, no, I'm not in favor of legalization.
Do you think it's going to pass the Senate since it's a Republican-controlled Senate?
I don't think it has a chance to even see the light of day.
Not a snowball's chance in hell. The way it's written is ludicrous. And by the way, the governor, and all this isn't public yet, it's what we've heard, so I don't want to, but the governor came out against it. Okay. His own Department of Revenue said it's going to cost more than they're going to get in revenue. So, and we have the synopsis of it, and he's come out against it, apparently. He wants it into dispensaries like most people do that are for legalization. And so that's a problem in and of itself. The Senate, they're not going to pass this bill.
And the bill is so bad that the marijuana industry came out and said, absolutely not.
The marijuana industry is against it. The UFCW, who runs the stores, the liquor stores, isn't for it. Nobody is for this except the House Democrats, which all 102 of them voted for it. So.
All right, let's jump out to the phone lines. Good morning. You're on Beaver County Radio.
Thank you, Frank.
Sure, Georgie.
Good morning, gentlemen. Mr.
Good
Roman.
Good morning.
Mr. Josh. I have two pet peeves I want to put across your lap. Do you have a piece of paper and pencil to write this down?
I got a pen right here.
They do, yes.
You got a paper there, Scott? We'll go grab that.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. My first question is, Pennsylvania, a few days ago, was the highest air pollution, I guess, in a couple decades. Now, why? The question is, why do we have an auto emissions program? That's the first question. Second question is property taxes. Is going to be any property tax for seniors to abolish some of this? Because it's a big burden for the senior citizens and property tax. Now, it's going to get to the point it's going to eat us alive and throw us out of our houses.
Yeah.
You know, can you guys answer those questions for me? I'm going to sit back and listen. And I've called your office a few times, both of you gentlemen, and never got any response from a couple of questions I did ask already. And I'd like to have your output and your input, what's going to happen. And I thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. You're doing a fine job so far. So I want you guys to prove it to me if we can get some of these problems resolved. God bless both of you, and thank you very much.
All right, Georgie.
Yeah, no, thanks for those questions. The property tax is definitely something that Republicans are very much aware of in the state house. Every state in the United States does something a little bit different, but we all have property taxes in some form or fashion. So we have to figure out what is the best way to deal with relief. And for me, I've been trying to think through this as a new legislator, like what is the opportunity here? So, losing population is a major problem, especially in Beaver County. A number of school districts we have as well, as there's less and less students enrolled, property taxes, it becomes crunch time for a lot of these school boards to try to figure out how to deal with that. And how to deal with revenue problems. And we have an aging population in Pennsylvania. We're in the top 10, it's quoted as the most aging population. So it's difficult, right? People on fixed incomes and their property taxes going up. For me, one of the solutions and that I think would be wise is doing something like Texas does in Oklahoma. These places use a lot of their oil and gas money to go that way. But the thing is they unleash those industries, and there's opportunities for revenue to come in to deal with that. Unfortunately, as Representative Keel mentioned earlier, we have currently a governor that's not serious about dealing with that issue. We should be the energy capital of the world here in Pennsylvania. We have every opportunity to do it, and that can be significant for revenue and for growth. And when there's growth and there's revenue, you can help to deal with things like property tax relief. But when you're shrinking and you don't have a growing economy, we're not just worried about people paying their property taxes or being able to afford them. We're worried about if the lights are going to turn on in the next 5 years because our energy grid is in serious
we got a strawberry
crisis.
down over here.
Strawberry down. One of the children dropped a strawberry.
Is that what happened? I was wondering why she wanted to go
Strawberry down.
She just ate it.
Sounds like a movie. So that's that's one of the things I'm thinking of with property taxes. There's plenty of people that have introduced things to try to deal with property tax relief, but there's also that revenue. How do you make up the revenue that's lost from that for essential services that help support our communities? We have a crisis of everything in Pennsylvania, crisis of all the above, workforce, energy, emergency services, fire, police, teachers, and the way to do this is to grow, and we're not growing.
And the Pennsylvania House Democrat answer is blaze your way to prosperity by putting weed in the state stores. The lowest way what we're going to get revenue, by the way, is that anyone's seeing is allowing it in state stores. So the property tax argument is one that when I was knocking on doors and I go around and talk to people and I have town halls, we got 3 of them coming up, by the way, and a teletown hall coming up as well. I hear about this issue every time, and I feel it. I have to pay property taxes, and it's a burden. It's a serious burden. My problem is I have not seen a solution proposed that eliminates property taxes and maintains public and local control of revenues, in particular for school districts. So the property tax is not a state tax. It's a local tax. It's a tax for townships. It's a tax for school districts. It's a tax for the county. It is not a state tax. So in theory, asking the state house or state senate to fix the problem is misplaced. However, there are plans that are put forward that the state has tried to put into place to override the local communities, which are interesting and are things that we ought to consider and that we do consider. But I will say this: we do not want all of our revenue coming out of Harrisburg, because when our revenue comes out of Harrisburg, we get hosed. In Beaver and Washington County, we get hosed. Every dollar that we send to Harrisburg, we get about 75 cents back. And if we're going to do that now with education funding, we're going to get a lot less education funding as well, or county funding, or township funding. And what we can't forget is the golden rule of politics, and that is he who controls the gold makes the rules. And if all of the gold, as it were, is coming from Harrisburg, then we're going to get bureaucrats out of Harrisburg calling all the shots. So my solution that I would propose is twofold. One, give local taxing bodies the authority to tax differently. Allow them to use other forms of raising revenue than property taxes to raise taxes, so you could have school boards getting more creative and raising revenue. It's going to be different in different places, and earned income tax is not going to work in some places where a sales tax won't work in others, and vice versa. I think that's an interesting idea. Not mandating anything on the local taxing bodies. Let them figure it out. Let the local communities figure out what's best for them. Two, I think seniors over a certain age, and they do this in Florida, and under a certain income ought to phase out of paying property taxes, period, end of story. The idea that you can pay for a house and a mortgage your entire life, pay it off finally, and then have your house gone because you can't afford a $500 or $100 or $5 16 property tax bill is ludicrous to me, especially for a senior who doesn't have the ability to earn more revenue. So I think we ought to set a program where seniors phase out. But ultimately, we can't just put in a system that eliminates property taxes and then centralizes control to Harrisburg. I think that's a bad idea. I love what President Trump is doing by decentralizing D.C., by sending more resources to the state. I think the state would be wise to decentralize Harrisburg and send more resources to county governments and state and school districts.
She found the trap door.
I know, right? And we have a runaway here. On the emissions question, I agree with you. These emissions tests, and it's a means of fleecing people. The federal standards are the ones that are going to dictate. The cars are making things so much more efficient now. It's irrelevant. They've kind of made the actual tests irrelevant. And I think we ought to eliminate the requirement, especially the way it's set up in Beaver and Lawrence County. It's ridiculous.
It's frustrating because you go to like Butler County, which is Cranberry. They don't have to have an emissions test, but here we are in Beaver County, and we have to have it, but they don't.
Crazy.
There's twice the traffic there.
When I was knocking on doors in Franklin Township for last year, like I said, one side of the street had to get their emissions test, and the other side of the street there didn't.
I'd be like, let me use your address.
You know who's been great on this issue is Elder Vogel. Okay. Senator Vogel has been on this for the last since I've been in office.
Yeah.
He has been pushing, and he is an advocate to get rid of it. And he's been really working diligently to do that.
And the state keeps blaming the feds too. Mm-hmm. When you ask, because there's these air pollution zones, and because we're in a certain proximity to an urban center, which is Pittsburgh, they just have these arbitrary formulas that bureaucrats come up with, and they figure it out. I mean, Josh is 100% right. Like, this is arbitrary. We're not dealing with these 1970s cars we were talking about earlier. Right. We're dealing with this stuff. I
wish we were. I like those cars better.
Well, they fell apart though. That's the problem.
Yeah. So all right. Well, we got to take a short break, and then we'll be back with more. You're welcome to call in at 724-843-1888 or 724-774-1888 if you have any questions for either Josh or Roman, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Oh my goodness, Amy, it's so good to see you. Jennifer, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Is your mom doing any better? Thank you for asking. I don't know if I can answer without being emotional. I'm sorry. I'm just tired and worried. I can't always be there for her, and it's so stressful. I really understand. That's how I was with my dad. I'd recommend calling St. Barnabas. We did. We started with just having them come in for home care. He was so excited to see them show up. And when he needed more, we were able to move him in at Beaver Meadows, where he still has his own home-like space and excellent care. Thanks for telling me that. I don't even know how to start, but I have to do something. Oh, you can just give St. Barnabas a call. They have directors that can explain how it all works. Trust me, you'll feel so much better, and so will your mom. I'm so glad I ran into you.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700 for care apart from the ordinary. When accidents and injuries happen, you need the experience and insight of the legal team at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, a law firm of AV-rated attorneys and super lawyers. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, helping you put your life back together. Attorney Joe George.
You worry about getting better. You worry about taking care of the medical side of things. We'll take care of all the legal side. I don't want you worrying about whether a letter needs to go out to an insurance company. You worry about getting to your doctor's appointments. You worry about getting your physical therapy appointments. You worry about getting better. If you have to have surgery, you worry about take you back and forth to the surgical center or the hospital. And all those things, I try to put my client at ease from the standpoint of, look, this is where things are going to go. You just worry about getting there on your side of things.
For your initial consultation, call the law firm of Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George at 724-658-8535 or online at lgkg.com. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, keeping promises for over 80 years.
Tune in to Beaver County Radio 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP every Monday and Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. for Thinking Logically with Joe Corsai. It is an all-new show that takes a look at the conservative side of politics. Thinking Logically is also presented on the WBVP-WNBA Facebook page and YouTube channel. That's Thinking Logically with Joe Corsai each and every Monday and Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on Beaver County Radio.
If you need assistance with auto, homeowners, renters, life, and pet insurance, Dan Hoffman State Farm on Dutch Ridge Road is always there to help. Dan Hoffman State Farm brings excellent customer service to both new and existing customers, understanding insurance needs to prepare for the unexpected. Call your Beaver County neighbor Dan at 724-728-2702 or visit HoffmanSFinsurance.com for more information. That's Dan Hoffman State Farm, 3465 Dutch Ridge Road, Beaver.
Beaver County Radio proudly welcomes Fry Transportation to their family. You are listening to 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
Put freedom in your future. Freedom United Federal Credit Union in Rochester.
The Vault Recording on Neville Island is the state-of-the-art recording studio with an award-winning team. The Vault's 3 studios include a multi-room full-production studio centered around a legendary vintage Neve console. The Vault also offers the region's first and only commercially available Dolby Atmos certified mix room and a post-production studio run by B6 Music and Post focused on ads, TV, film, and voiceover work, plus music production. The Vault works with artists and projects of all types, from singer-songwriters to full bands and large ensembles across all genres. For info, visit thevaultrecording.com.
Looking for a quick and easy breakfast? Try the McDonald's $6 bagel combo meal. Your choice of bacon, egg, and cheese bagel or sausage, egg, and cheese with 1 hash brown and a small coffee, all for just $6. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
We have Art Cornell here from Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum. Art, what makes the Beaver Cemetery different than many cemeteries?
Well, we're a non-profit cemetery, so all income generated is used to meet operational costs, to make improvements, and to provide perpetual care for centuries to come. Beaver Cemetery is non-sectarian and open to all who choose to take advantage of our historic beauty and tradition of caring.
Thanks, Art. Beaver Cemetery and Mausoleum, serving all of Beaver County since 1865. Located on Buffalo Street in Beaver.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Partly sunny today with a slight chance of rain. We'll see a high near 68. A chance of showers tonight. We'll drop down to a low around 44. Sunshine tomorrow with a slight chance of showers. Look for a high near 62 and a low around 40. And a lovely day expected on Saturday with mostly sunny skies. We'll reach highs near 71 and lows around 47. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
It is 57 degrees in Beaver, 58 in Ambridge. Thanks for listening to the Beaver County Radio Morning Show. Scott Teddy, Frank Sparks. It is Rappin with the Reps. We're joined by State Rep Roman Kozak and State Rep Josh Kale. And Josh, I know you have to leave. You got some a lot of going on today, obviously, but you want to talk about your town hall meetings first.
Yes, so we got a town hall meeting coming up Friday, May 16th at 9 a.m. in Robinson Township. That's in Washington County. We got one Friday, May 30th at 9 a.m., Midland Borough. And then one at June 13th, Friday, in Canton Township. Again, that's down in Washington.
Where is the Midland Borough one at? What building?
That is in the Borough Building.
Okay.
It's in the Borough Building. We also have a teletown hall. I think it's next week. So if you'll be getting a phone call if you're in my district. It's next week, and we have a Veterans Appreciation Breakfast Thursday, May 22nd, down in Slovan, Burgettstown. area. So please come to these town halls. I know some people are telling me that 9 a.m. is too early or too late. They got work. We do alternate the location and times. We have 3 in the spring, 3 in the fall every year. And so we'll do some in the evenings. We'll do some on the weekends. We'll do some in the mornings. We'll do some at lunch. We'll do them all over the district. We'll be around. We want to hear from you. I can't be an effective representative if I'm not hearing and listening to what my constituents are telling me and what their desires are. I also have very special guests with me here today.
If you're watching on Facebook,
if you're watching on Facebook, here's my daughter Evangelina and Viana. Viana, come on up here, darling. She's under the table. Why don't you say hi? Say hi. Go ahead, Beanie. You don't want to? You don't want to say hi? We want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day. Yeah, my 2 youngest here aren't.
I'm shocked that there's a Kel that's shy.
I know, they're shy. It's unbelievable. But she'll loosen up.
Well, just to give accolades to Josh, I want everyone to know this. So Josh is, his wife's grandmother passed away recently, and my goodness, you should read the article about this lady. She was a world champion in karate, karate or another form of martial arts.
Taekwondo.
Taekwondo.
Something like that.
She was unbelievable. But this has been a time period for Abby's family to process that and go through that. But Abby's grandmother is Korean, and Abby is in Korea. Wow. Right now. Josh said trip of a lifetime, go, and he took all the kids. So that's the fun Mother's Day present.
We got him. So I'm running around a little bit with the kids. Go ahead, Vion. You want to say Happy Mother's Day? Go ahead. Say Happy Mother's Day. Say Happy Mother's Day. Oh, they're not talking. You got to watch the video. I promise you, they are here. I'll post a picture of them later on. But we do need to get rolling. So, all right, let's say bye to everyone.
All right,
see you later.
Josh.
Thank you for having me. There we go. Bye-bye. All right.
Thanks for coming, Josh.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. I always love when he brings kids with him because it always makes for fun. I like watching him wrangle them.
And Abby is in South Korea, not North Korea.
Now it's time to ask all the hard questions for Roman. I'll see you.
Sorry, Josh. See ya.
She's in South Korea, not North Korea, right?
Yes,
South Korea. All right. It is 8:40 or 9:45, 46 actually, right on the nose now. So let's take a call right now, and then we'll jump back into it.
I've got a tough question for Representative Coe. Why is he have a Liverpool thing on his phone? You're a Liverpool football fan?
I am a Liverpool fan.
You're sitting next to an Arsenal guy.
Well, guess what?
I know you won.
Too bad.
You won the year.
If you guys still have an opportunity with the Champions
League. We lost yesterday.
You lose
Paris
yesterday?
Saint-Germain.
I've been out of the loop with that.
Yeah. Congratulations on a great Liverpool season.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I've been a fan since 2000. My brother got me into it. It was right around 2002.
Scott insists he's doing that to me, and I keep telling him it's not happening.
Trying to make Frank an English football fan.
Never going to happen. Never, I assure you.
We can talk NASCAR if you want to.
There you go. Yeah, Roman likes NASCAR too. So, all right. Good morning. You're on Beaver County Radio.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Over the past 3 years, well, not 3 years, maybe 2 years, I've been reading more things from the Lung Association, the Heart Association, the Alzheimer's Association about air quality and particulates in the air. And the more particulates you breathe in your lifetime, the more inflammation you have and the more heart attacks and blood clots and things like that, and Alzheimer's disease. And they were even talking about the forest fires in Canada were causing heart attacks and deaths in Pennsylvania. Maybe not too many, but there was an increase. And everybody complains about the cracker plant, but people in the summer, especially in their backyards, people are burning fires all the time. It seems like that's their favorite recreation in this area. And can you do anything about this? It's a lot. It's not just people once in a while wanting to cook out for an hour or two. It just seems like this is a thing they do. They sit around a fire and they want to drink beer and smoke weed and smoke cigarettes. And sometimes the air gets really thick in some of our communities here. And nobody wants to be the one to call the police on it. And then other times you can't even tell where the smoke's coming from. And then there's people who collect electric cords and they want to have a fire to melt the rubber off the electric cord so they can take the copper in for scrap.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. So, a lot of the burning rules for trash or for backyard, that's all dealt with at the local level. So, the local control over that issue, your borough or your township or the city, it has the ability to make those determinations, size of the fire, where you can do it, what days you can do it. So the more rural you get, the more likelihood that there's not going to be a lot of regulation around that. A lot of it just has to do with the density of population. So, at the end of the day, for you and for where you are, if whatever your township or borough you're in, that would be something definitely to inquire with them and see what the rules are there where you live, see what people can and can't do. And, that's a place where you can advocate for change at that. Statewide, we don't have control over that, particular locations with individuals burning on their properties.
She raises a good point, though. I agree with her.
Yeah, it's sometimes, you're driving through and it's the smell and, the trash especially. It's like, what are they burning? You don't even know. Plastics, whatever. Things that no other person could get away with if they were a business. It's air quality is important.
And a lot of times
right?
by the time police or somebody comes, when somebody does call, it's usually they're done burning,
And you can't see what they burned, right? Because it's gone.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, all right, one tough question I do have for you today. I want to make sure we hit on this today because I know you were just talking about it earlier this week. So there was an energy bill that's out there. Mm-hmm. You had an amendment to put the nuclear energy on it, and it was denied.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
So Community Energy Facilities Bill, it was a bill offered by the Democrats, and what it really was, it's a way to, trying to think about the best way to put this down, because it can get a little bit in the weeds here too, and a little bit policy wonky, if you want to put it that way. But it's about having an alternative energy sources where communities can help feed back into this facility in order to generate energy. And what this is like people putting wind and solar in their backyards or in their houses or on their farms and things like that, and generating energy to put it into a community energy facility that can be an alternative source of energy to help, help the energy grid really at the end, because there's where we have problems. We need more energy. We need more energy base load. And this is just one of those drop in the bucket mechanisms, to try to deal with that, which isn't addressing the serious issue. So a few colleagues and myself offered different amendments to try to incorporate other types of energy sources that can be incorporated into these community energy facilities. And really, it was trying to make a statement that, listen, wind and solar, they can be part of an energy portfolio, but they simply cannot provide what you guys are saying. This is, it's just it's not really feasible. And so it costs a lot of money to do these things. It's subsidized sort of things, that the federal government previous to the Trump administration was pushing, creating a market for something that didn't exist, demand for something that didn't exist fully. And so I wanted to add nuclear into this because it's really to make a statement. I had a friend a legislator that did natural gas, and another one did modular nuclear reactors. And so we were trying to kind of push and say, hey guys, listen, if we want to be serious about energy production and baseload production with our energy grid and these community energy facilities, we get the idea behind it. But this isn't all of the above energy approach. And if we're serious, this renewable stuff is pie in the sky. It's not going to accomplish what the realities are with our energy needs.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with having them, but we need more.
I want to ask about the budget itself and the status of it right now. And what is there anything you think people should expect or brace for, or what will be the effect for a lot of Pennsylvanians?
The budget talks are. The one thing I'm new to Harrisburg and I'm learning about is the budget talks are barely starting. Right. It's unfortunate. We have a divided legislatures between Democrats and Republicans, and we have a Democrat governor who sort of stays out of this process. There's governors that really get in the mix and want to come to the negotiating table and be a part of that discussion, and he sort of just says, hey, you guys figure that out. He'll, of course, offer his 2 cents and things like that at times, but so as I'm sitting there learning, I'm looking around thinking, when are we actually going to be dealing with budget issues besides just spending? And we're just waiting really to hear this past week. I'll say this, just this past week, the Democrats introduced in the State House Governor Shapiro's plan, basically what he wants, his wish list. And that's the starting point. The Senate is going to offer theirs. Our appropriations committees are going to get together and start having those discussions in June, and most likely not pass a budget on time because there's too much. There's too many things that are just not agreed upon, and unfortunately, the governor's budget wants to spend more ultimately and create a structural deficit for us in the years ahead, without really generating revenue other than from things like weed and taxing gambling. And again, you're not going to, as Representative Kale said, you're not going to blaze your way to prosperity here.
Well, it seems they continually want to dip into the rainy day fund as well.
Yeah. So the rainy day fund was set up for, like, right now, I think it's enough for us to be, I'm going to say it's close to 60 days of government, say there was an emergency crisis. I think that's a reasonable thing to do, is have a rainy day fund. And the rainy day fund was set up in a way that you're not supposed to just be able to tap into it if you want to, but politics is politics, and the budget that's being offered by the governor is simply like, well, we're just going to use it anyway in the years ahead. And by 2028, we'll be in the red.
Got anything?
I guess I was hoping Representative Kale be here too, but is there any examples you can give of both sides of the party, both sides of the aisle, coming together, compromising, and actually working together? Because at a time of such bitter politics, I would love to hear an example. Okay, here's a time where Democrats, Republicans came together and did something and passed something that's helping everyone.
Yeah, I mean, bipartisanship is, unfortunately, seems like a lost art in a lot of ways. There are things that we have, in the House recently that we have passed, some minor things that have been bipartisan. It's kind of discouraging, because some of these things are kind of, what I'd call cakewalk issues, issues that are just like they're simple, but they don't really accomplish much for the people. They're the serious things we need, regarding like energy policy and economic growth and education and how we deal with that. So right now it's I have a lot of people on the other side of the aisle that since I've got that I've become friends with, and I really appreciate them, and they have great perspectives on things. But what's really frustrating is kind of when you get to the House floor, that's when things become very, very, very political. The cameras are there, the opportunities to make bold statements are there, and there's a time and place for that. But there's the political differences, and everyone's kind of jockeying to get what they want, and it's frustrating. I'll be honest with you. We have a 102 to 101 state house, 102 Democrats, 101 Republicans, and there hasn't been a whole lot of bipartisanship yet that I've seen.
All right. Well, finally, in our last couple minutes, I wanted to ask you about the governor's mansion and what occurred there. Your thoughts about that? The fact that I'm just amazed that somebody could actually get that close and get into the governor's mansion. So security-wise, I guess we need to up our game when it comes to that.
I drove past the governor's mansion that week right after it happened, and was just curious, like, okay, like I need to get a better scoop. Like, how did this happen? Right. Because I've had people asking me, like, is there a booth like at the front where there's a security guard sitting? I mean, the fences are pretty tall. It's pretty private looking, but it is right along the river, like right along a main road. It's not like set back at all. I mean, it is. You feel like it kind of feels like you're on Oak Hill, Frank. Like that. Like the houses are just close together, and that road particularly. I guess the best way to make that road is almost like River Road in Beaver, the way that it's set up as far as like being right up against the river. But I couldn't figure it out. Like how if he scaled the fence, like there's cameras everywhere. There's a booth out front. You see security guards. I mean, it probably was more at that time, but I just heard it at that particular time at night. There was only like one or two guys around, and it might just be one of those things that, hey, we've never had a problem. And it's hard to know. Thankfully, the governor and his family are all right. I mean, that was, that's pretty scary. I can't imagine having kids in your house and half of your house being on fire. There's apparently double doors that if they weren't closed, I was told it would be, we'd be with a totally different situation right now.
That's just not, no matter what your political beliefs are, it's just, that's not right.
No, absolutely not. And this guy, I think, had some clear mental health problems as well as some extreme politics, and he walked a mile to get to the house to do it. And
wow,
it's terrible. It's terrible.
No, definitely. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that hour goes fast, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I'd love to tell you. I've got a town hall coming up. Can I share that?
Yep, got about a minute and a half left.
Wednesday, May 28th, 6 to 8 p.m. at Brady's Run Four Seasons Pavilion.
Okay.
And be there. You can call my office at 724-847-1352, or you can just type in my name online to get to my website to find that. If you're interested in signing up and coming, we can have these conversations there. And as Representative Kale said, we can't do this without learning and being meeting with our constituents. So it's really important. I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. We just got done with a great concealed carry event. We had over 100 people in the Big Knob Grange with Sheriff Guy and District Attorney Nate Bible, and it was just a lot of awesome questions. And got more coming up, more things coming up. Veterans Breakfast in the fall as well, and so we're looking forward to that.
We'll keep us informed, and we'll keep pushing it out there for you.
Absolutely. And happy Mother's Day to everybody. Happy Mother's Day weekend coming up, and happy Mother's Day to my wife, Lauren.
Absolutely. So our day's coming up next month.
That's
it just so happens you'll be here that week before that, because June 12th is the Rappin with the Reps schedule for next month. But you know what usually happens to that June one, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually they're stuck in Harrisburg.
Yeah, you get stuck in Harrisburg.
Budget. I always remember the June one. I usually get the text, still in Harrisburg.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. That's what I hear. This is a new thing to me, so we'll see.
All right, buddy. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks to you. Thanks to Josh for coming in today. And coming up next, Mike Romai. He has live mic today. It's Thursday. Best of Beaver County. Who's his guest today?
The Vintage Debbie.
Vintage Debbie. Okay. Yes. All right. That coming up here on Beaver County Radio. See you all tomorrow.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas.